The story begins with Naofumi traveling in a carriage pulled by Philo. He's thinking about how he ended up in this world as the shield hero, destined to fight against dangerous events called waves that bring destruction to this world. These waves are stopped by guardian beasts. The spirit tortoise, one of these guardians, recently revived, so it will be a while before another wave comes. Naofumi believes these guardians use soul energy obtained from harming people to prevent the waves. They defeated the spirit tortoise, and the next guardian, the phoenix, was supposed to revive. However, the energy they took from the spirit tortoise created a barrier, delaying the phoenix's revival by 3.5 months. Naofumi plans to use this time to make his land safer. He also remembers that when they fought the spirit tortoise, a curse was placed on his party, affecting his, Philo's, and Raffia's abilities. Naofumi and his group make a stop and notice that the army gathered to deal with the spirit tortoise is still there, along with the Phi country's army. Naofumi wonders why Phi's army is present, especially if they didn't come to fight the spirit tortoise. He also can't use a special power called the Liberation Aura since the curse incident. Naofumi realizes that all 4 cardinal heroes must trust each other to become stronger. The scene then shifts to Naofumi finding out that the other cardinal heroes are missing. The queen explains that the 3 cardinal heroes dealt with the wave that happened after Naofumi and his group arrived in this world. However, they might feel responsible for what occurred, which is why they're missing now. With the phoenix about to revive, having even one hero missing is a major concern. The queen asks for Naofumi's help again to protect the land. Naofumi expresses his intent to do so. He also wonders about the queen's plans, as 3 nations east of Fabry are causing trouble for her country. The queen reveals that after the spirit tortoise battle, Phi stationed its forces nearby under the guise of relief efforts. This made the 3 neighboring nations cautious, and they positioned their forces nearby too. She mentions that Melromarc and that nation are allies for now. The scene then shifts to Raffia and the others in the castle, where some people are unhappy to see them. Malty arrives and apologizes to Raffia for their behavior. She explains that their nation used to worship the 3 heroes but now worships all 4. However, some people still dislike the shield hero and the demi-humans. Malty mentions that her mother wants to remove them from their positions, but these men were highly trusted by her father. Raphaelia tells Malty not to worry, and Naofumi asks the queen about the 7-star heroes' whereabouts. The queen explains they should be somewhere out there, but they can't contact most of them, and they're investigating. The only one they know the location of is the staff hero, who is in Melromarc. Philo and the others find out that Malty is preparing to leave for Se, which is close to Naofumi's lands. Philo is happy they can play together again. Malty mentions that R, another hero, is struggling to rule her lands, and she needs Malty's help. She's packing to leave today. The queen's spy, who has contact with Naofumi, works as a mate for Malty. The queen gives Naofumi a piece of the spirit tortoise's body, and he unlocks a new type of shield that can make medicine. The queen informs Naofumi that Philo's sister has gone missing, and was last seen near the northern border. She warns him to be cautious as she may be planning something. Naofumi then visits the weaponsmith and shows him the gear they used in their previous world. He wants it adapted for use in this world, especially since Raffia performed well with it. Naofumi suggests the weaponsmith come to his lands to sell his weapons, offering 30 silvers a month. The weaponsmith says he makes more staying where he is. Naofumi goes around town in his carriage and notices that even though people here may now worship all 4 heroes, their looks towards him haven't changed. Later, he meets the slave trader and notices that the trader has fewer slaves. The trader explains that since Naofumi is trying to bring back the villagers of Lalona village, nobles and merchants bought all the slaves in anticipation of selling them outside the country. Naofumi is curious about how much it would cost to buy back the slaves that were taken from Lalona village. The slave trader tells him the current price is 30 gold coins per person, which Naofumi finds quite high. Instead of just buying a few, he decides to purchase all the remaining slaves and asks the trader for any information he has. The trader suggests that if Naofumi still wants the Lalona village slaves, he should head to Zabel. Naofumi prepares to go to Zabel after returning to his lands. Hill advises him to use a portal instead of the carriage. Malty explains that they can't use the portal to reach a place they've never been to and asks Naofumi to leave the training of the slaves she's taking care of. They set off on their journey, and during this time, Naofumi explores how his new shield works. Upon reaching Zabel, Naofumi notices that this country feels vibrant, and there's even an arena here. They go to the shop recommended by the slave trader and find that it's actually a tavern. Inside, they see someone who looks just like the slave trader, who turns out to be the other trader's uncle. He knows Naofumi is a valued customer and invites him inside. The uncle mentions that while there are many enjoyable places above ground in the country, the real excitement lies beneath the city. He reveals a secret door leading to the city's underground and tells Naofumi that what he's looking for has just arrived. They head to an auction house, where they find a demi-human from Lolona village being auctioned. The slave trader explains that slaves forbidden in Melromarc are sold here. Raffia notices that the demi-human girl is lying about being from Lolona village. Bidders start placing offers, and the girl is eventually sold for a high price of 100 gold coins. The slave trader mentions that this outcome is a result of Naofumi's ban on the slave trade from Lolona village. He adds that it doesn't matter where the demi-humans are from. The Lolona brand created by the shield hero holds strong influence. The slave trader is disappointed that things didn't work out for Naofumi today, but notes that he has solid information about a demi-human from Lolona village being in the city. He wonders about Naofumi's current financial situation and suggests that he shouldn't have spent all his money buying slaves in Melromarc. Naofumi mentions that the slave trader brought him here, so he must have a way for him to earn money. The slave trader then mentions the arena above ground they saw earlier. He explains that while the daytime fights are fair, the underground arena is a different story, where people do whatever it takes to win. The potential earnings there are also much higher. Naofumi can either participate in the fights himself or bet on a dark horse. The scene shifts to Naofumi in the underground arena. He buys a drink and watches the ongoing fights. Right now, there's a battle between an elephant and a panda. A girl approaches Naofumi, noting that it's her first time seeing him here. She believes the panda will win and asks if Naofumi is here to bet or participate. The panda wins the match, and Naofumi buys the girl a drink. He inquires about the arena's rules. Meanwhile, another match begins between a demi-human named F and a noble named Yuji. The girl explains that participants can enter the arena alone or with a team of up to 3 members. The most popular matches to bet on are the 3-on-3 team battles, and there are no strict rules here. The match between Yuji and F appears to be fixed, and Yuji wins. The girl mentions that even such things are allowed in this arena, and leaves. Naofumi then instructs his party to prepare for underground fights. They'll use masks to hide their identities. He plans to use the money they earn from winning matches, their bets, and prize money to buy back the demi-humans from Lolona village who are up for auction. The scene switches to Naofumi and his team fighting against a group called the Topak family. They seem to be struggling. Philo asks Naofumi why they have to pretend to be weak, and Naofumi explains that by doing so, they can earn more money by betting on themselves if others see them as underdogs. Naofumi instructs Raffia to use illusion magic, making the Topak family believe they're in a tough battle. With the illusion in place, Naofumi's team defeats their opponents. They call themselves the Rock Valley and pretend to be exhausted, as if the fight was challenging. Naofumi then looks at the people in the arena, thinking they've successfully fooled them. The story continues, and Philo picks up a weapon dropped by one of the top members. In the arena, one guy advises Philo to use the weapon to win matches and promote it. Naofumi, disguised as Rock, realizes that the other guy was a sponsor. The announcer announces the next match for Team Rock Valley but notices that several teams have forfeited. He mentions that he will announce the names later. Naofumi, curious about the forfeits, is having a drink when the girl from earlier approaches him. She congratulates him on his first win and notices that he must be in need of money, given that he also placed a bet on himself. Naofumi worries she might report this, but the girl assures him she won't spoil the mood. She proposes they spend the night drinking together in exchange for her silence. Naofumi downs a glass of wine, surprising the girl with his ability to drink wine with rucker fruit in it. He says he can handle a dozen glasses. Naofumi then asks her to share what she knows. They head out into the town for some fresh air. They learn that it's standard to be informed of their next opponent right after the battle. The girl explains that if teams forfeit, they win by default and don't get matched for a while. Naofumi and the girl, Nadia, get surrounded by armed men who demand they die for their teams. Naofumi and Nadia fight the men, with Nadia using her powerful lightning magic to defeat them all. Naofumi realizes that people forfeit because otherwise, they risk getting ambushed in the middle of the night. Nadia warns Naofumi to be careful because their enemies will do whatever it takes. She hopes they don't have to face each other in the Colosseum and prefers that he gives up before having to fight her. Nadia then departs, leaving Naofumi to ponder the challenges they face. The next day, Naofumi notices that more opponents forfeited their matches. After that, they face some monsters, defeating them with ease. However, their illusion magic makes it appear as if they struggle. This illusion doesn't sit well with the sponsor and some of the audience, who aren't happy with Team Rock Valley's victories. With each victory, the prize money keeps increasing, and their illusion tactics make their betting odds better. Naofumi and his party head to the capital city's largest department store, recommended by the slave trader. They plan to get the armor and weapons they need for their matches. Philo also spots a lot of food, so they decide to stock up. While shopping, Naofumi meets the accessory merchant he once protected. The merchant recognizes Naofumi as Rock and reveals that he owns the store. He offers to invest in Naofumi, but Naofumi declines, knowing it would come with strings attached. The merchant proposes a deal, seeking joint rights to the economy of Naofumi's lands, but Naofumi agrees, at most, to let him open a store. The merchant trusts Naofumi's word and leaves. Rishia mentions that the merchant is famous and has a reputation for driving competitors out of business if he dislikes them. Later, Naofumi and his party are in an inn when Rishia informs Naofumi about their next opponent. This opponent fights alone and usually wins or ranks high in the matches. Naofumi suspects they are either strong or have a generous sponsor. Rishia reveals that their opponent's name is Nadia, known for using powerful lightning magic and a harpoon in battle. Raffia thinks Nadia sounds familiar, but dismisses the idea. Rishia notes that this will be the championship due to the many forfeits. Naofumi informs the team that they no longer need to pretend to be weak and encourages them to rest because they'll need it for the upcoming fight. The group prepares for the challenging championship match. The championship match begins, and the announcer asks the audience to predict the winner. The fighters enter the arena, and Nadia remarks that Naofumi should have heeded her warning. Naofumi explains that he has a specific reason for winning. Raffia, going by the alias Shigaraki, wonders if Naofumi knows Nadia. Naofumi mentions that they've had a few conversations. Nadia asks Naofumi if he aims to win to buy the slaves from Lolona village, but she asserts that she won't lose to those who only care about money. The championship battle commences, with Raffia and Nadia using their weapons to duel. Nadia employs her lightning magic, but Naofumi deflects the lightning. Philo attempts to attack Nadia, but the arena gets covered in water. The announcer notes that the battlefield changed rapidly due to their speed, but Naofumi realizes it's the doing of Nadia's sponsor. Nadia believes her sponsor wants an entertaining show and decides to fight seriously. She then transforms into a killer whale, revealing herself as a demi-human. Nadia tries to attack Raffia, but Raffia calls her Sedina, and Sedina recognizes Raffia. She realizes that Rock is, in fact, Naofumi, the shield hero. Sedina confronts Naofumi, asking if he gathered the village children for Raphaelia and the villagers. Naofumi confirms her suspicions. Nadia suggests ending the fight and launches a powerful attack. However, Philo and Raffia combine their efforts to counter her and defeat her. Nadia worries that the sponsors might sell the kids from the village she was working hard to buy back. Naofumi reassures her not to worry about it. The announcer attempts to declare Team Rock as the winner, but he's interrupted. He explains that the sponsors decided to invalidate the final battle. Instead, there will be an exhibition match between the two participating teams, including a new fighter. It's now Nadia and Naofumi's team against the murder clown, and Nadia warns Naofumi that this new fighter is a bit dangerous. The announcer also mentions that betting will start soon, and they will refund the money for the finals right away. The unexpected turn of events sets the stage for the exhibition match with uncertain outcomes. The match begins, and the murder clown employs a spider net to catch Raffia's sword and a bind wire to capture Naofumi and Philo. In response, Philo transforms and kicks the murder clown, buying Raffia time to free her sword and attack. Nadia then asks Naofumi to cast a coral spell with her. Naofumi admits he's never done it before and wonders if it's similar to what Oz did. Nadia warns that Raffia and Philo are in danger if he doesn't act quickly. Nadia starts casting the coral spell while Philo and Raffia battle puppets controlled by the murder clown. Nadia and Naofumi cast a spell named Descent of the Thunder God on Raffia, but it doesn't harm her. Nadia explains they've given her a coral spell and advises Raffia to use it wisely. Raffia employs the coral spell to defeat the murder clown effortlessly. However, they discover it was a puppet disguised as the clown. The real murder clown appears and tells Naofumi that, according to her estimate, he has 4 buffs. She warns that this will be his downfall as his base strength is too low. She believes that if Naofumi isn't an invincible hero, the other world will destroy him. Confused, Naofumi questions what she means, and the murder clown claims she's fought enough to earn her pay before vanishing. The announcer tries to declare Nadia and Team Rock Valley the winners, but the sponsor intervenes. He states that this match is also invalid due to a major cheating incident. Team Rock used a fake name to place bets on themselves. The accessory merchant and the slave trader enter the arena. They declare the match in favor of the shield hero, who will receive both the fight money and betting winnings. The audience is shocked to learn that Rock is, in fact, the shield hero. The sponsor can't believe one of the cardinal heroes participated in an underground tournament. The accessory merchant also mentions that Nadia is the true owner of the Lolona village slaves, bought with her prize money, safeguarding them from being taken away. Naofumi is curious about why the accessory merchant is there and giving orders. The slave trader explains that the merchant owns the largest department store in the capital. Naofumi is surprised to learn that the entire department store they visited earlier belongs to the merchant. Raffia is happy that everything worked out and talks to Sadina. Sadina notes how much Raffia has grown, and Raffia is pleased to see Sadina again. Nadia reintroduces herself to Naofumi as Sadina, and Naofumi introduces himself as well. Sadina expresses gratitude for Naofumi's protection of Raffia, and asks him to look after her in the future. The scene then shifts to Demiurge buying medicine from a doctor. The doctor hopes that Demiurge's sister gets better soon. Demiurge brings the medicine to his sister, Atla, and she welcomes him back warmly. The story continues with Foal giving Atla the medicine he bought for her, and he also gives her some bread for dinner. Then, Foal hears people talking, and he wonders if it's his sister. But he realizes that the voices are coming from outside. He overhears them saying that the demihuman can't wait to be bought by the shield hero so they can escape from here. We see the slave trader showing some slaves to the shield hero, and on the way, some demihuman slaves ask the shield hero to save them. The shield hero tells them that they can't trick him that easily, and the slave trader is impressed by his discernment. The shield hero then asks the slave trader what's happening here. The slave trader explains that in Siltville, the shield hero is not seen as a hero but as a god to be worshipped. That's why these demihumans came here to be bought by him. The slave trader mentions that the main attraction he promised the shield hero is this way, and he takes Naofumi to see Foal. Foal asks him to purchase them, and Naofumi remembers seeing Foal in the Colosseum. He asks for Foal's name, and Foal introduces himself. The slave trader mentions that what makes Foal special is his combat ability, and asks Naofumi to check Foal's stats. Naofumi takes a look and notices that Foal has a high level of 38 at such a young age. The slave trader adds that unlike other races, a white tiger can upgrade their class up to level 60 and can reach level 120 after upgrading their class. The slave trader says that when Foal gets older, he'll be very powerful in the world, except for the heroes. He tells Naofumi he can buy Foal for just 120 gold coins. Naofumi understands why Foal is valuable, but is confused as to what Foal is referring to. Foal explains he has a younger sister and asks Naofumi to take her too. The slave trader reveals that Foal's sister is sick, can't leave her bed, and is blind. She's not worth much, only 30 silvers. Foal fights in the underground Colosseum to pay for her food and medicine. Naofumi thinks the slave trader takes a big cut from Foal's earnings, and the slave trader acknowledges Naofumi's intelligence. Naofumi asks for Foal's sister's name, which is Atla. He goes inside to check on Atla, and she asks who he is. Naofumi introduces himself as the shield hero. Atla asks him to take care of her brother as she can't do it anymore. Naofumi refuses, but checks Atla's stats and realizes she needs the Yggdrasil elixir to cure her disease. Naofumi has the elixir and gives it to Atla. She drinks it and feels warm. Foal agrees to spend the rest of his life paying for it. Naofumi tells Atla she'll need to take the elixir several times for it to work and advises her to rest. They decide to take Foal and Atla with them. Later, Naofumi returns to his domain with Sadna and the other slaves from Lorelona village. A villager asks Sadna if they'll always be together, and Sadna says yes because she's in love with Naofumi. Raftalia asks Naofumi if he had a drinking contest with Sadna, but Naofumi clarifies that he only shared a drink with her. The scene shifts to the demihumans building houses, and Naofumi notices there are more people in the village, but their defenses have many weak points. Malty says they need to strengthen their defenses quickly. Meanwhile, Atla keeps improving with every potion she takes. Malty realizes they need to start selling the bioplants and medicines seriously because they don't have enough money to build proper facilities yet. She asks Naofumi if things are okay with the new kids, and he says he doesn't know, but they can at least make money from trading right now. Malty clarifies she's not talking about money. They're like parents to a big family now. She mentions that Naofumi has been waking up early to cook breakfast for everyone. Sadna joins them and agrees that having more friends is good but warns Naofumi not to overwork himself. She tries to say something else, but Raftalia arrives and reminds Sadna not to bring alcohol while Naofumi is still working. The scene shifts to Naofumi removing Atla's bandages. Naofumi is glad they could do it so soon, and Atla thanks him by hugging him. Naofumi then leaves for Lorelona village to discuss trade routes and business, instructing Atla to practice standing on her own. The scene changes to Foal taking Atla for a walk. Atla wants to try standing up today, so Foal helps her, but she can't do it on her own. Foal thinks they've practiced enough for the day, but Atla insists on trying one more time and successfully stands up, making Foal happy. At night, an alarm rings, and a soldier informs Foal and others that they are under attack. Slavers have attacked Lorelona village, hoping to capture the valuable demihumans. They take a demihuman hostage and order everyone to drop their weapons. Heo calls the slavers cowards, but is forced to surrender their weapons. Foal and Atla manage to avoid capture. The slavers take the rest of the demi-humans captive, thinking they can make a lot of money by selling them. Foal remembers that Naofumi told him the location of a hidden signal flare to contact him in case of trouble. Foal uses the signal flare, but a slaver captures him, believing he sent the signal. The slaver leader plans to use someone as an example for the others and tries to kill Foal. Just in time, Naofumi and his group arrive, using his shield to protect the humans. The leader wonders how they got there so quickly. Naofumi tells the slavers that they'll regret attacking the village. Raphtalia and the others attack the slavers, and Naofumi orders them not to let any of them escape. He emphasizes the cost of repairing the damage they've caused. The slaver leader attacks Naofumi, who uses his shield prison to capture him and then releases him, instructing Raphtalia to be ready. Raphtalia removes the leader's armor, and he surrenders. She recognizes him as the one who kidnapped them before. Eclair, the Lord of Sade, arrives late and apologizes. Naofumi explains they were about to execute the leader. Eclair notices the noble family mark on the leader's armor, indicating their devotion to the worshippers of the three heroes. Naofumi wonders if they can't kill him because it would upset the noble, but Eclair confirms it. Naofumi decides they'll keep the leader alive and turn all the slavers into slaves. The leader pleads with Naofumi and offers to pay him as much as he wants. Naofumi tells him he can regret his actions for the rest of his life. He explains that he arranged with a slave merchant in Siltveld to auction the slavers, which turned out to be profitable. Malty is surprised that Naofumi could do this to a noble, and suggests he ensure no one seeks revenge. Naofumi assures her that he spread rumors when selling the slaves, making it clear that nobody should mess with their village again. The scene shifts to Atla approaching Naofumi because she can't sleep. She feels like she couldn't do anything during the attack and that she's always a burden to her brother. Atla doesn't want to spend her life being protected, she wants to be strong too. Naofumi assures her that he'll make sure they can protect themselves, and Atla promises to be the shield that protects him before falling asleep. Naofumi puts her to bed and asks Foal to watch over her. Foal tells Naofumi that he needs to get stronger, and Naofumi thinks they're similar. He mentions that he'll reset Sadhana's level the next day and asks Foal to come with him. Naofumi resets Sadhana and Foal's levels so they can take advantage of his hero buff. The scene shifts to Naofumi in the palace, where he's preparing for the battle with the Phoenix. He notices the former king refers to as Trash now. This person notices the blind Atla and asks for her name. Foal and Atla introduce themselves, and Trash leaves after seeing the queen. Atla mentions that Trash felt like her brother. Later, Naofumi asks the queen about this, and she requests to see Atla's face up close. She talks about the stories of the staff hero, whose name is Luge Lansars Fabri. He abandoned his nation and named to become an ordinary soldier in Melromarc for the sake of his beloved sister. He used his intelligence and strategic talent to gain fame and glory. However, his sister was kidnapped by Siltveld, and he was driven to seek vengeance. He ended up defeating their king, Tyron Gaufaon. The queen then goes back to the main point, saying she called them there because they've located Madoyasu, the spear hero. The story continues as we see Naofumi is back in Leolona village, where he recalls that the queen told him that Madoyasu is looking for his comrades who split up after the spirit tortoise fight. She mentioned that they know one of them is in a town near Melromarc, but they don't have information about the others. The last known location of one of them was near the northern border. Naofumi wondered if the queen could use the slave crest to find them, but she said the person seems to be blocking it somehow. She confirmed that they have no information about the other heroes' companions, but have verified that all of the sword heroes' companions are dead. She stressed that the Phoenix would soon revive, and she wants Naofumi to persuade the spear hero while there's still time. In the present, Naofumi has no intention of reconciling with these people, but he remembers that Vittoria warned him she would eliminate the heroes if they kept fighting each other instead of facing the waves. He plans to leave Eclair in charge of his domain and start with Madoyasu. Meanwhile, someone is watching Naofumi from afar, and elsewhere, the spear hero is searching for his comrades. The scene shifts to Naofumi doing his daily rounds around the village. Eclair and Elrasla are training the demi-humans, and some kids notice Naofumi surrounding him and asking him to make breakfast. As Naofumi cooks, he thinks that everyone has settled in nicely. Melty mentions that the outer wall will be finished sooner than expected, but their problem is getting money for food and other things. Naofumi wonders if they can get help from the government, but Melty says it's difficult because all places are trying to rebuild. She asks how Foal and Sedana's level reset went, and Naofumi says they completed it. They need to do some rehab to make up for the lost levels, but what they gained from training isn't lost during a reset. Now they need to raise their levels for the battle against the Phoenix. The problem is what comes after they've reached their limit, and Raphia wonders if the only solution is more training. Naofumi confirms that it is. Philo asks if the food is ready as she's hungry, and Naofumi says it's almost done, asking her to play until then. Naofumi serves breakfast to everyone and notices a new girl asking for breakfast. He asks her who she is, and she introduces herself as Asine. Philo mentions that she's the clown girl, but Naofumi still doesn't recognize her. Asine shows her mask, and Naofumi realizes she's the murder clown. Naofumi wonders why she's here, and Asine says she's here to eat. Naofumi tells her the food isn't free, and mentions he can't trust her. Asine leaves the village, hoping Naofumi would stop her, but he doesn't. After breakfast, Naofumi shows Philo her carriage and tells the others to raise their levels while he's gone. Eclair and Elresla mention that they'll personally train Rishia. Naofumi leaves with Raphtalia and Philo, and Raphtalia notes it's been a while since they've been on a journey like this. Naofumi agrees and suggests they do some trading along the way. The scene shifts to one of the Spear Hero's former party members, thinking about how things turned out this way, while the Spear Hero watches her. Naofumi arrives in a village and, after asking a fruit vendor about the Spear Hero, discovers that the Spear Hero was seen near a tavern on the town's outskirts. Naofumi locates the Spear Hero, who is talking to his former party member, Alina. The Spear Hero is pleased to see that Alina is alive and invites her to rejoin his party to save the world together. Alina explains that this is impossible because she was compelled to take over her family's business, and she no longer wants to travel with him. She mentions that his days of fame and fortune are over, and he's now just a wanderer. Alina leaves, and Madoyasu notices the shield hero observing him. Madoyasu quickly flees and teleports somewhere else. Naofumi believes they should talk to Alina for now and asks her to share everything she knows. Alina explains that Madoyasu went to the Spirit Tortoise Kingdom to defeat the tortoise before Naofumi. In a flashback, we see Madoyasu's party challenging the Spirit Tortoise and defeating the surrounding monsters. However, no matter how much Madoyasu attacked the tortoise, it kept regenerating, leading his party members to abandon him. Back in the present, Alina regrets her choice to be with Madoyasu, and she mentions that trying to get her arrested won't work as she has already given all her information to the authorities. Naofumi then asks her about the location of the town's taverns and heads to one. He notices the sword hero, Ren, there, who tries to escape. Naofumi assures Ren they're not there to arrest him. He asks Raphtalia and Philo to find Madoyasu and gives him some alone time with Ren, and the two of them sit down to talk. Naofumi explains to Ren that he had just met Madoyasu and had come to talk to one of Madoyasu's old party members, but Madoyasu got away before they could have a conversation. Ren is surprised to learn that Madoyasu's comrades are still alive, while he remembers the deaths of his own party members. He defends himself, saying it wasn't his fault and that his party members were weak. Naofumi expresses his sympathy for what happened to Ren's party but reminds him that he still has the ability to fight, and they don't have much time before the Phoenix's seal breaks. He urges Ren to work together with them this time and tries to share what he knows about the Phoenix. However, Malty, now known as Bitch, intervenes. She tells Ren not to believe the shield hero and claims that he had said he would only believe her from now on. Ren denies making such a statement, and he says that Madoyasu is still searching for her, but she says that the Spear Hero is not a true hero. Malty accuses the Spear Hero of forcing himself on her, just like the Shield Hero did, and argues that the Shield Hero secretly controlled the Spirit Tortoise to gain people's trust. She blames the Shield Hero for the death of Ren's party members and emphasizes that she's not lying since her crest is not activating. She declares her unwavering belief in Ren, even if he can't believe in himself. Madoyasu arrives and wonders what's happening with Ren. Malty approaches Ren for help against Madoyasu. She claims that Madoyasu forced himself on her, threatening to harm her father if she refused him. However, Madoyasu insists that Malty is lying and asks Ren to trust him instead. This leads to a tense argument among the three of them, causing the shield hero, Naofumi, to become frustrated. Naofumi expresses his astonishment at the human capacity for lying and urges Ren to carefully consider who is more trustworthy. Ren, however, firmly believes that the shield hero is responsible for the troubles they have faced. He accuses the shield hero of being behind all of their problems, including the deaths of his party members. In response, Naofumi states that he has something to say, especially if this is the stance Ren is taking. He emphasizes that Ren's comrades lost their lives because he treated their adventures like a game. Naofumi believes that Ren's refusal to take responsibility and tendency to shift blame onto others led to the tragic deaths of those who followed him. Maltrise intervenes again, denying any blame on Ren's part and urging him not to trust the shield hero. In response, Naofumi loses his patience and tells her to be quiet or face the consequences. He emphasizes that Ren knows what he should do but is avoiding taking responsibility for his mistakes. Ren, however, remains resolute and demands that Naofumi stay silent. He unsheathes his sword and attempts to use one of his skills. Naofumi is taken aback that Ren is willing to engage in combat in a crowded location. Ren declares his intention to fight for Malty, the one who believes in him, and launches an attack on the shield hero. But Naofumi effortlessly deflects the attack. Inside the building, Philo and Raphtalia observe the commotion. They worry about Naofumi's well-being. Ren then decides to use his teleportation skill to escape, and Madoyasu tries to stop Bitch, but she kicks him away. Raphtalia and Philo express their concerns for Naofumi's safety, but he assures them that he is fine. Madoyasu, on the other hand, appears to be in shock following the events. The scene then transitions to Madoyasu waking up after having some drinks. He reflects on why such situations always seem to happen to him and decides that he will avoid interactions with women entirely. However, his attention is drawn to Philo, who is singing a song and dancing. Her performance touches Madoyasu's heart. Raphia, who is with them, is puzzled by Philo's behavior, and Naofumi speculates that it may be a skill she acquired during her time as a humming fairy. Philo offers Madoyasu some food, trying to cheer him up. In a moment of vulnerability, Madoyasu hugs Philo, causing her to become frightened. Naofumi intervenes and separates them, reminding Madoyasu of the training methods he had taught him earlier. He encourages Madoyasu to use those methods to become stronger and prepare for the upcoming battle. Madoyasu understands the advice and seems willing to follow it. As the group leaves the town, Raphia wonders if Madoyasu will join them. Naofumi suggests that Madoyasu may not be ready to do so just yet. However, to everyone's surprise, Madoyasu approaches Naofumi, addressing him as father. He expresses his gratitude for Philo saving him, and boldly asks Naofumi to give him his daughter. This unexpected request confuses everyone. Madoyasu then chases after Philo, who hides behind Raphtalia. An argument ensues, with Madoyasu insulting Raphtalia by calling her a raccoon pig. This incenses Raphtalia, who retaliates by knocking Madoyasu unconscious. Naofumi, still puzzled by these developments, decides to continue his journey with his party. Madoyasu pleads with them not to leave him behind. The story goes on as Naofumi and his friends run away from Madoyasu. Philo feels sad about leaving her carriage behind. Naofumi decides they have to give it up for now because Madoyasu might be watching. They plan to retrieve it later when it's safe. Suddenly, a cloaked man blocks their path. Naofumi, recognized as the shield hero, is questioned by the man. Another man attacks Naofumi from behind, but Naofumi defends himself. Raphtalia also defends against the man in front. Naofumi casts a buff spell on his party, and one of them uses magic to summon a meteor. The meteor is set to hit them in 5 seconds. Naofumi uses his air shields to reduce the damage and sends Philo and Raphtalia to attack the spellcaster. However, the other man intercepts them, dispelling Raphtalia's buff spell and repelling Philo's attack. Naofumi uses his shield prison to protect against the meteor, and the shield withstands the impact. The men attempt to attack again, but Asine intervenes. She assures them everything will be fine. The men recognize her as the vassal weapon wielder from a destroyed world. They belittle the cardinal weapon heroes of this world, calling them weak. Raphtalia attacks the men in response, having gained speed after the curse was dispelled. She defeats one of them, and Asine kills the other. Asine warns that this is not the end, and they will return. Naofumi questions Asine's convenient timing and wonders if she is working with the men. Raphtalia and Philo think Naofumi is being too harsh on Asine. Asine's stomach growls, adding a humorous note to the tense situation. The scene changes to them feeding Asine in their village. Naofumi asks her why she saved them, and Asine explains that the men were working with heroes who destroyed her world. This confirms Naofumi's party's suspicion that there are other worlds. Naofumi mentions they called her a vassal weapon wielder, and Asine reveals that weapon wielders in her world were killed, and her world was destroyed. Naofumi understands and questions how she appeared at the perfect moment. Asine shows him a needle-like thing she implanted on him, explaining that she watched him through it. Naofumi wonders if it works like a portal skill, and asks when she put it on him. Asine says it was during their fight in the Colosseum, surprising Naofumi that she's been watching him for so long. Asine expresses her desire to help Naofumi to prevent more weapon wielders from getting killed. The scene then shifts to Naofumi telling Raphtalia about Asine's destroyed world and the existence of other worlds. He's curious about her as a vassal weapon wielder from a destroyed world, but wonders if trusting her will endanger the others. Raphtalia believes they should let Asine stay for now since she saved their lives. Naofumi, while not fully trusting her, agrees to keep an eye on her. The next day, Asine puts on a doll show for the kids in the village, winning their love. Raphtalia thinks Asine has made friends. Rishia and Eclair return with demi-human kids they took for training. Eclair mentions they learned a lot, and Naofumi asks about their training. Eclair explains that what they learned so far is just the surface of Hengen Muso, and there are secrets only promised students can learn. Naofumi inquires about Eclair's management of the lands, suggesting Malty might be in charge. He informs her about a new visitor in the village whose intentions are unknown, emphasizing the importance of having the lord of the land present. Heel informs Naofumi that their levels have significantly increased, mostly reaching level 40. Naofumi decides they can upgrade their classes and summons Philo, mentioning they will go for class upgrade. Philo worries about Motoyasu, but Naofumi assures her they can handle it. Naofumi invites those at level 40, like Keel, to follow him to the capital after breakfast. After they reach the capital, and Naofumi talks about upgrading their class. He mentions that while it expands their potential, it also comes with risks. They might not get to choose their class, or they could be given one where they have the most potential to grow. In their future lives, fighting ability won't be the only important thing. Naofumi advises them to specialize in something they'd like to do. Keel wants to grow stronger, so he doesn't need to choose, and others share what they want. Naofumi asks them to split into two groups, one to choose and the other not to. The scene shifts to Naofumi at the blacksmith store with everyone. Keel admires the weapons, and Naofumi asks about the progress of new shields and armor. The blacksmith mentions difficulties with the weird ore from the spirit tortoise. Naofumi, having upgraded their classes, wants new weapons. He introduces a slave who wants to be a blacksmith, asking the blacksmith to take him as an apprentice. The slave, recognized as Talania, enters, and they discover the blacksmith knows him. Talania agrees to be an apprentice. Naofumi plans to go hunting once they get their new weapons. Returning to the village, they notice Rishia and Elrasla training, and Foal's movements have improved. Atla fights Rishia, showcasing a secret technique of Hengen Muso. Naofumi decides to go hunting, and Atla, eager to join, easily takes him down. Foal advises against separating Atla, but she insists. Naofumi decides to take Atla, Foal, Raftalia, Rishia, Keel, Philo, and Raf. Eclair suggests hunting bandits who survived the spirit tortoise's destruction. Naofumi agrees, and they leave for the bandit location, splitting into 4 groups. The first group includes Philo and Rishia. The second has Eclair, Foal, and Atla. The third consists of Raftalia and Keel, and the fourth is Naofumi and Raf. The story shifts to Ren's past where he was in a different world. In his school, a friend invited him to play the game Brave Start. Ren agreed initially but backed out when he learned she would bring other friends. This revealed that Ren is introverted and not comfortable in large groups. Fast forward to the current world, Ren successfully defeats a dragon, surprising his party members. Confident in his knowledge of the world from his previous game, they face the spirit tortoise. Unfortunately, all his party members die, leaving Ren confused and scared. Despite following a strategic plan, his teammates' higher levels didn't save them. The narrative then revisits Ren's meeting with Naofumi, who expressed sympathy for Ren's lost friends but encouraged him to join in fighting the Phoenix. Malty, however, warned Ren not to trust the shield hero. Initially skeptical, Ren didn't believe her until he noticed her tears and the lack of a reaction from the slave Crest. Trusting her, he left the tavern, thinking his luck had changed. His optimism shatters the next day when he discovers his equipment missing, and a letter in Malty's room declares him useless. This revelation plunges Ren into depression, prompting him to leave the inn. Outside, Ren encountered the 2 men previously defeated by Naofumi, and they tried to kill him. Engaging in a fight, Ren realized something was wrong with his body, so he fled and sought refuge in a townsperson's house. The owner recognized him as the sword hero but asked him to leave, blaming him for failing to protect them from the spirit tortoise and foreseeing disaster. Ren was rejected by the villagers, prompting him to run away from his pursuers. In an unfortunate turn of events, Ren found himself at a bandit hideout where they mocked him for his attire and teased him about his deceased companion. Feeling detached, Ren believed he didn't need anyone and manifested the cursed sword. In a violent act, he killed the bandit leader and claimed his mask. We then see Motoyasu engaged in a battle with Ren. Returning to the present, Motoyasu reveals his intention to punish a bandit threatening Naofumi's village. As he confronts the bandit boss, the shocking revelation unfolds that it is none other than Ren himself. Ren launches an attack on Naofumi, employing the powers of the Curse series. Naofumi, utilizing his shield, blocks Ren's assault. In the midst of the clash, Ren expresses his determination to surpass everyone and attain greater strength. Naofumi discerns the nature of the Curse series as a manifestation of Ren's deep-seated misery and desires. Recognizing the inherent price of utilizing the Curse series, Naofumi realizes the urgency to intervene and halt Ren. The confrontation intensifies as Ren, fueled by his newfound powers, asserts his dominance. Naofumi, suspecting Ren's motives akin to a bandit seeking treasure, resolves to stop him. In a tense exchange, Naofumi queries Ren about Malty's whereabouts, further fueling Ren's anger. However, Naofumi emphasizes that Ren is not his true adversary. Matoyasu offers assistance, but Naofumi urges him to refrain, attempting to reason with Ren and persuade him to reconsider his path. Undeterred, Ren vows to behead Naofumi, unleashing a giant guillotine with swift ferocity. Despite the threat, Naofumi defends himself with his shield. Raphtalia and the others arrive, expressing concern for Naofumi's well-being. Ren, confident in his power, summons a colossal monster using gathered gold as a catalyst. Naofumi shields Raphtalia from the impending attack. Ren declares that he's not finished and believes he can always win, no matter how many opponents he faces. He attacks, but Raphia steps in, and they engage in a sword fight. Naofumi, concerned about Ren being affected by the curse series, asks Saiyan to restrain him. The plan is to bring Ren back to the village and prevent further harm. Eclair expresses a desire to have a one-on-one fight with Ren. Naofumi is unsure if she's serious, but Eclair insists on wanting to win. Believing Eclair is much better at swordsmanship than Ren, Naofumi thinks she has a chance of winning. He agrees to let her fight under the condition that he buffs her and intervenes if she's in danger. After casting a buff on Eclair, she introduces herself to Ren, stating that he must defeat her first if he wants to face Naofumi and Matoyasu. Ren claims that Eclair is no match for him, and Full wonders if she can win against a hero. Atler reassures that everything will be fine. However, it becomes evident that Ren struggles to land a single attack on Eclair. Raphtalia empathizes with Eclair, acknowledging the pain Ren's sword inflicts. Eclair questions Ren about his desire to become strong, to which Ren responds that he can't tolerate anything less than being the strongest across all dimensions. In the midst of their battle, Eclair challenges Ren's resolve and questions his true desire. Despite Ren drawing power from the curse series, Eclair slays monsters emerging from the darkness he creates. Naofumi speculates on the nature of Ren's curse series, associating it with the deadly sin of greed. Eclair defeats Ren using a Henjin Muso sword art technique, dispelling the lifeless field he created. Two attackers from earlier miraculously survive and seek revenge against Naofumi. Matoyasu, showcasing newfound strength, eliminates them. Raphtalia deals with their escaping souls using her soul slice sword attack. Naofumi questions Matoyasu's sudden improvement, learning that Matoyasu followed Naofumi's training advice. Surprised that Matoyasu heeded his guidance, Naofumi and even Ren are taken aback. Eclair extends an invitation to Ren, suggesting they become stronger together. She acknowledges Ren's pain and loss but encourages him to live and fight for what he still has. Despite Ren's initial belief in self-sufficiency, Eclair assures him that one day he'll find a reason to be strong. Eclair welcomes Ren as a training partner, and everyone rejoices in the newfound camaraderie. Matoyasu tries to approach Philo, but she runs away, prompting Matoyasu to chase after her. The story shifts to Lalona Village, where Naofumi considers that the Phoenix will revive in 2 months. Recognizing the urgency, he thinks they must unite and strengthen the heroes quickly to defeat the Phoenix. Additionally, they need to prepare an army to protect the village. Naofumi hopes they can manage it somehow. In the midst of these thoughts, Asine wonders if Naofumi has finished making breakfast. Naofumi asks her to wait a bit as it will be ready soon. Unexpectedly, Keel appears in his animal form and asks Naofumi to feed him. Everyone is surprised to see Keel in this form. Keel explains that Sedina taught her the Ryanthrope transformation, and Naofumi questions if this form affects his abilities. Sedina clarifies that it depends on the species, but Keel's power should have leveled up. Rishia finds Keel cute. As mealtime approaches, Naofumi asks Ren to serve the food, and Eclair announces that Ren will be doing the honors. During this, Naofumi notices a demi-human named Wendia watching them from afar. The scene shifts to Naofumi in his house, where he notices Philo trying to shake off someone attached to her. Investigating, Naofumi discovers that the woman, named Radatil, thinks he is the shield hero. Rad explains that she was expelled from Fabri for causing trouble, but believes she can help develop Naofumi's lands. She hands him a letter from the queen, confirming her role as an alchemist. Reading the letter, Naofumi learns about Rat's expulsion and her expertise in enhancing monsters. Rat clarifies that she specializes in changing and strengthening monsters, but false accusations led to her lab's destruction. Despite the hardships, she encountered a mutant Philolial that can understand human speech. Philo, frightened by Rat, runs away. Naofumi questions Rat's intentions, and she expresses a desire to research Philolial, emphasizing their significance in transportation. Rat mentions her curiosity about the monster stable in the distance, and desires to see what monsters the heroes have raised. Raphtalia suggests giving her a chance. The scene changes to Rat inspecting the monsters in the stable. She's amazed by the size of the caterpillars, and Naofumi notices there are 3 now. Raphtalia and Naofumi wonder where the third one came from. Wendia tries to hide it, and Raphtalia discovers that the caterpillars have laid some eggs. The kids request not to throw the eggs away, claiming they'll take care of them. Naofumi is concerned about raising too many of them, but Rat assures that she can help. Naofumi, skeptical, tells Rat that if she wants to work for him, she needs to accept a slave crest. Rat agrees, willing to do anything for her research. Wendia informs them that Siltveld has sent something, and when Naofumi opens the crate, he finds a dragon egg. Naofumi worries about Philo's reaction, but Rat explains that powerful dragons can breed with any species, posing a threat to the ecosystem. Wendia disagrees, stating that dragons are cool and strong. Rat claims she can create something even more powerful than a dragon. Wendia suggests that the dragon would be stronger if she raised it. Naofumi reluctantly agrees to try raising the dragon. He asks Rat if she can handle it, and she proposes starting with a monster seal, also expressing the need for Naofumi's help with something else. The scene shifts to Naofumi in the blacksmith's shop, carrying the dragon egg with him. The blacksmith is curious about what he's doing, and Raphtalia explains that having a hero keep the egg warm is good for its stats. Naofumi tried asking Ren, but due to the curse series, Ren declined. The blacksmith then presents the requested katana, and Naofumi notices its high quality. The blacksmith admits it's been a while since he made a katana and humbly acknowledges his teacher's superior skill. Raphtalia tests the katana and discovers the skill stored in it, called Stardust Blade. Naofumi thinks it might be similar to Ren's Meteor Slash, and they plan to try it out later. They express gratitude to the blacksmith and leave using their teleportation skill. In the village, Foal notices that Atla can't sleep and she asks him to sing the lullaby her mother used to sing. Foal sings the lullaby, reminiscing about his mother's sweet memories. He finds the song kind and warm, falling asleep while singing. Atla, still awake, wears a mischievous look on her face. The scene shifts to Naofumi waking up the next morning, discovering that Atla has once again sneaked into bed with him. Surprised, Naofumi questions how many times this has happened. Atla reveals it's the third time, and Naofumi wonders if her slave crest hurts. Atla reassures him, saying it feels warm rather than painful. Naofumi asks about Foal, and Atla mentions he's sleeping soundly. Raphtalia notices Atla sneaking into bed again and reprimands her, emphasizing the need to respect Naofumi's sleep. However, Atla insists she's Naofumi's shield and needs to be by his side at all times. Foal arrives, asking Atla not to sneak off, but she dismisses him. Raphtalia drags Atla out, and the scene shifts to Naofumi working with the egg tied to his back. Keel and Melty laugh, commenting on how Naofumi looks great with the egg. Melty playfully suggests he'll make a great father one day. Naofumi, annoyed, asks them to leave as they're disturbing his work. Melty reminds him she made time to see him, and Essine appears with a doll resembling Keel's animal form, using it to communicate. Naofumi finds it easier to understand her now. Essine reveals she repaired an enemy's accessory with translation ability, but can only use it through the doll due to compatibility issues with her vessel weapon. Naofumi learns Essine is hungry, suggesting they eat first. The scene shifts to Ren studying Melromarc's language, with Eclair helping him, and Ren enjoying her company. After eating, Naofumi considers the increasing number of the Ryanthropes and the need for accommodations. They decide to get new pots, and Raphtalia mentions seeing something nice at the department store in Zeltop. Outside the village, they discover a treehouse, Rat's base of operations. Rat explains she used a camping plant, allowing them to plant a seed for a new living space that stores sunlight during the day and glows at night. Naofumi thinks it's great, but Raphtalia feels they are drifting further from the village she once knew. Rat offers Weed Killer, and Raphtalia approves if it makes life easier. They notice the egg cracking and prepare for the dragon's birth inside one of the camping trees. Wendia arrives, wondering what dragons eat. Rat explains they are omnivores, and a male dragon, named Galeon, hatches from the egg. Naofumi feeds a piece of the eggshell to his shield, and Wendia, having named the dragon, is tasked with taking care of him. The scene shifts to Wendia showing Galeon to the villagers, and they all contribute to taking care of him. Over the passing days, Galeon grows, learning to use a dragon's breath, but he doesn't get along well with Philo. The scene changes to someone repeatedly knocking on Naofumi's door and running away. Naofumi captures the culprit, Galeon, using his shield prison. Summoning Wendia, Naofumi informs her about the ongoing knocking. They discover that Galeon was trying to get Naofumi to play with him. Raphtalia sees an opportunity for Galeon to keep Atla away from Naofumi's bed. Galeon notices a Dragon Emperor's court in Naofumi's room, and Sadina asks Naofumi to remove it. Galeon accidentally eats the core, causing him to grow instantly. He uses his dragon's breath on Naofumi, who defends with his shield, realizing Galeon is now level 37. Rat suggests dealing with Galeon before he harms the village, but Naofumi wonders how they can save him. Galeon flies out of the village, causing concern for Wendia. Rat explains to Naofumi that the Dragon Emperor has taken over Galeon's ego. Dragons have a core organ that contains their ego, allowing them to enhance ability and inherit memories. Naofumi realizes this caused the Dragon Emperor to go berserk. He instructs Ake to call back Elrasl and Rishia from an expedition and assigns Rat to protect the village. Eclair informs Naofumi about Philo's deteriorating condition and suggests he goes to her. Naofumi decides to check on Philo with Raphtalia. Foal, Atla, and Windia express concern and decide to accompany Naofumi. At Philo's side, Naofumi discovers a curse worse than the curse series, draining her experience points and decreasing her level. Atla slows down the flow with her magic, giving Philo some relief. Naofumi realizes Philo won't last long at this rate, and asks the others to take care of her. Philo insists on going with Naofumi, and Malty, considering Philo a friend, also wants to join. Naofumi agrees, deciding to bring Atla to suppress the curse, along with Foal and Windia. The scene shifts to Naofumi and the group heading to the village where they defeated the zombie dragon. Upon arriving, Philo faints, and Naofumi suggests letting her rest while Malty and Atla cast healing spells. Philo goes to get some food. Villagers notice the shield hero and inform him that another dragon has come to the village. They point Naofumi in the direction of the dragon's nest, urging him to save the village. Wendia and Sedina express urgency, and they all head toward the dragon's nest. Sedina explains that to stop Galeon, they must weaken him to make him spit out the core. Naofumi worries about the core assimilating completely with Galeon. They encounter a monster, and Wendia surprises Naofumi with her magic skills, which draw power from dragon veins. Raphia praises Wendia, who learned the magic from her father. Meanwhile, back in the village, downhill, Philo's health worsens as curse marks appear on her body. Atla attempts to help, but she can't do anything. Meanwhile, Naofumi and the group stop at the place where he fought the dragon zombie. Ren expresses guilt for the lives lost during that time, but Naofumi tells him that heroes must grow stronger, even if it means making sacrifices to save the world. They resume their journey and reach the dragon's nest. Raphtalia uses magic to create light in the dark cave. Inside, Wendia falls into a pit, but Ren saves her. Naofumi uses his airstrike shield to lift them up, and Wendia insists on continuing. As they explore, they discover a large room in the cave. Raphtalia's light isn't sufficient, so Wendia uses her dragon vein magic to illuminate the area. Galeon appears, and Philo, acting strangely, confronts him. Malty explains that Philo went berserk, and Galeon defeats her, consuming Philo. Naofumi reassures everyone that Philo is still alive. They attack Galeon, but their efforts are ineffective. Galeon transforms into a larger dragon and unleashes a powerful fire breath. Despite their strong attacks, Galeon's scales prove too tough. Naofumi buffs everyone, and Raphtalia manages to injure Galeon. They continue their assault, and Malty uses a water spell. Their combined efforts weaken Galeon, and Sedina suggests finishing him. Wendia intervenes, revealing that Galeon is her father and asking him to stop fighting. Wendia explains that after Naofumi defeated the dragon zombie, bandits sold her into slavery. Naofumi realizes that the dragon became a zombie to protect Wendia. Ren bears the burden of guilt for the dragon's demise, haunted by the consequences of that fateful event. Meanwhile, Wendia harbors deep resentment toward the four cardinal heroes since her father's death, a tragedy she attributes to their actions. In her heart, she vowed never to forgive them for shattering their once happy lives. However, a glimmer of kindness emerges from the shield hero, Naofumi. He stands apart from the other inhabitants of this land, showing compassion to demihumans. Wendia, despite her grievances, speaks to her father's spirit within the dragon. She emphasizes the difference between Naofumi and those who wronged her father, urging the dragon to relinquish Galeon's body. The dragon, now in a menacing form, attempts to attack Wendia, but Ren valiantly intervenes, sustaining injuries in the process. Naofumi, demonstrating his healing abilities, tends to Ren's wounds, ensuring he can still contribute to the impending conflict. The dragon undergoes another transformation, shedding any semblance of Wendia's father. It declares itself as the Dragon Emperor, an authoritative figure ruling over all monsters. Naofumi theorizes that the fusion of cores, one from the zombie dragon in their world, and the other from the Emperor Dragon in Kazuna's world, resulted in this amalgamation of souls. The Dragon Emperor articulates a malevolent goal: to dominate this world, subjugate feeble humans, and exact vengeance on the hunting hero and her allies who thwarted its ambitions. Atla, Naofumi's companion, alerts him to an extraordinary surge of power emanating from his shield, feeding into the Dragon Emperor. Unfazed, Naofumi directs Malty to move away from the source. When questioned about Philo's fate, the Dragon Emperor callously reveals that Philo resides within its body, causing distress among the group. As they witness Philo's diminishing level, Naofumi employs a buff skill on Raphtalia, who attacks the Dragon Emperor to no avail. Sedina and Malty join the assault, followed by Ren and Eclair, yet their combined efforts prove ineffective. Amid the frustration, Naofumi proposes a daring plan, deliberately failing a power-up attempt on the Wrath Shield. This, he believes, will weaken both the shield and the Dragon Emperor. Sedina expresses concern about the potential repercussions for Naofumi, but time is of the essence, and he insists on proceeding. However, the Dragon Emperor intervenes, seizing control of Naofumi's stats to maximize the power of the Wrath Shield. A devastating blast ensues, leaving everyone injured. Wendia implores her father's spirit to return to her, but the Dragon Emperor readies a breath attack aimed at her. Naofumi hastily erects multiple shields to intercept the impending onslaught. Although most barriers succumb to the Dragon Emperor's fiery breath, one remains intact, the last line of defense against the impending catastrophe. Naofumi, determined to thwart the attack, braces for impact. The story continues as Naofumi tries to stop an attack. He successfully blocks it but realizes he might not withstand the next one. The dragon attempts to attack again, but Atla intervenes, hurting the dragon. In pain, the dragon releases a dragon's breath, causing the river water to flood the cave. Naofumi and the others, along with the river water, are expelled from the cave. Atla, having been injured during the dragon fight, is healed by Sedina using holy water. Raphtalia then inquires about Philo's condition. Naofumi informs her that Philo is alive but her level keeps decreasing. This worries Raphtalia, who speculates that the Dragon Emperor might still be alive. Naofumi expresses concern that Philo might be swallowed up by the dragon by the next morning. Considering the situation, Naofumi believes that Atla's attack is currently the most effective way to counter the dragon's threat. The scene shifts to Atla, Philo, and Wendia having a conversation. Atla asks Wendia if the dragon is really her father, and Wendia confirms it. She then shares the story of how her real father, while carrying her as a child, was running away from someone and got injured. Spotting a dragon, he pleaded with it to take care of Wendia. Initially hesitant, the dragon eventually agreed. Wendy's father, revealing her name as Wendia, passed away from his injuries. The dragon, unaccustomed to caring for a human child, faced challenges but successfully raised her. Over time, they developed a close relationship, and Wendia treated the dragon as her father. One day, she noticed a peculiar scale on her father's chest, and when she touched it, the dragon cried out in pain. In the present, Wendia decides it's time to inform Naofumi about this revelation. Meanwhile, Naofumi is engaged in a strategy meeting with the others. He points out that the location is far from the village, making it suitable for their plan. The idea is to lure the Dragon Emperor to this spot, allowing them to attack it from above. Sedina notes the strong dragon vein in the area, providing added protection. Ren agrees that it's a good place for the showdown, but questions if the Dragon Emperor will show up. Naofumi reassures them, mentioning his plan to use the Wrath Shield to attract the dragon and save Philo. He instructs everyone to get ready for the upcoming battle. Sedina emphasizes the importance of cleaning and repairing their weapons and wonders about the specifics of their plan. Before Naofumi can explain further, Wendia arrives, revealing that she has discovered the Dragon Emperor's weak point. She explains that there is a reverse scale on the dragon's chest, which she believes is its vulnerability. Ren raises a concern about what they'll do if the dragon takes to the air, and Naofumi decides to divert the dragon's attention back to the ground. He asks the team if they can pin the dragon down before it attempts to fly again. Sedina volunteers for the task, mentioning that she has a perfect coral spell for it. She enlists the help of Wendia and Malty for this endeavor. Naofumi then assigns Eclair and Raphtalia to use attacks effective against high defense enemies, aiming to wear down the Dragon Emperor. For the crucial task of piercing the dragon's scale, he pairs Ren and Sedina. Naofumi believes this plan is their best shot at the moment. Following the strategic discussion, Foal expresses concern to Wendia about them fighting her father. Wendia reassures him, explaining that she came here to bid farewell to her father, and she's okay with it. Foal acknowledges Wendia's strength, and Sedina, embracing them from behind, commends them as good kids. Wendia, surprised, questions Sedina's decision to drink at a time like this. Sedina insists that now is precisely the time to drink and assures them not to worry because she'll protect them. Wendia wonders if Sedina can fight while being drunk, to which Sedina confidently claims that she's stronger this way. As everyone gears up for the impending battle, the next morning arrives, and Naofumi prepares to lure out the dragon. He instructs Atla to hide with the other kids, but she insists on fighting alongside him. Naofumi emphasizes that her power is a last resort, to be used if nothing else works, considering her as the ace up their sleeve. Atla happily agrees and listens to Naofumi. However, Naofumi is still uncertain about how Atlas' powers work and deems it too risky to rely on them. He believes they need to finish the battle before sunrise. Naofumi decides to use the Wrath Shield to attract the Dragon Emperor. The dragon appears, demanding Naofumi to sacrifice himself in exchange for revenge on the humans who caused him suffering. In response, Malty, Wendia, and Sedina utilize chorus magic to create a water barrier, sealing the dragon within it. Sedina transforms into an orca and attacks the dragon, while Wendia and Malty struggle to maintain the barrier without her. Malty expresses the need to persist, and Naofumi reflects on the urgency of their mission. Eclair and Ren join the assault, using attacks specifically designed to deal more damage to enemies with high defense. They adapt their strategy, attacking when the dragon lowers its defense and striking with their most powerful moves. Meanwhile, Naofumi takes on the role of protecting everyone from the dragon's attacks. The collective effort begins to chip away at the dragon's strength, gradually weakening him. Raphtalia steps in for an attack, but the dragon raises its defense, thwarting her efforts. In response, the dragon unleashes a breath attack, hitting everyone. The aftermath reveals the toll on the group, with injuries visible after the powerful assault. Despite the challenges, the team remains resolute in their determination to confront and defeat the Dragon Emperor. The dragon launches a powerful breath attack at the shield hero, but he skillfully blocks it. Meanwhile, Atla is gathering power, preparing for an attack. She recalls a conversation with Philo, where she explained that as Naofumi's servants, it's their duty to sacrifice themselves for the plan's success. Atla attempts to attack the dragon with her gathered power, but a barrier stops her. Foal tries to break the barrier without success. The dragon shakes off Atla, prompting Foal to transform his hands to successfully break the barrier. Undeterred, Atla charges up for another attack, expressing her determination to remove any obstacle in her master's way as the shield hero's servant. She targets the dragon's reverse scale, dealing a heavy blow that injures the dragon. Ren successfully extracts Philo and Galen from the Dragon Emperor, and Wendia is relieved to see that Galen is unharmed. Raphtalia and Melty check on Philo, finding her in good condition. Reflecting on the pleasant memories she shared with her father, Wendia expresses her gratitude for being his daughter. However, the Dragon Emperor starts moving again. In response, Wendia, Melty, and Sedina combine their dragon vein magic to counter the dragon's resurgence. Meanwhile, Naofumi continues to block the dragon's attacks, while the girls cast a spell called Aqua Splash on the dragon. Sedina successfully extracts the dragon's core. Despite this, remnants of the Dragon Emperor attempt to fly away and escape. Raphtalia uses Naofumi's airstrike shield as footing to strike down the escaping dragon. The group believes the battle is over. However, the remnants of the Dragon Emperor enter Naofumi's shield, conveying a message that wrath will always dwell within his heart. The encounter leaves them pondering the enduring impact of the dragon's presence and the challenges they've faced in the battle. The scene shifts to Wendia, who is seen saying a prayer at her father's grave. Ren also pays his respects at the grave. Later, the villagers express their gratitude to Naofumi and the others for saving them. They mention that the sword hero almost led them to disaster. Naofumi advises them not to blame the sword hero, stating that the villagers manipulated him to steal the dragon's treasure. He believes they got what they deserved and leaves. Ren apologizes to Wendia, admitting that he has done something he can never make amends for. Wendia acknowledges that she knew the villagers manipulated Ren, but forgiveness is still hard for her. Despite this, she expresses gratitude for Ren saving her life earlier. Galen, speaking through Naofumi, tells him it's wonderful to see his daughter grow up. Naofumi realizes that Galen has the soul of Wendia's father inside him. Galen mentions that his current form is a vessel that allowed him to escape annihilation. Naofumi wonders if Wendia should know about this, but Galen requests him to keep it a secret, as Wendia is trying to overcome her father's death. Naofumi agrees to keep the secret, and Philo appears, asking Galen to return the experience points he took from her. Galen playfully pouts, and Philo tries to retrieve them forcefully. Naofumi notices that the curse on Philo is gone, and he wonders if the Dragon Emperor absorbed it. Galen then grows in size and flies off, with Naofumi, Wendia, and Philo following. Philo asserts that carrying her master is her job. As they soar through the sky, Wendia encourages Galen to grow up to be a great dragon like her father. The group, with Galen leading, embarks on a new journey. The story continues with Rishia practicing with her sword in Lorelona village. She remembers the time when she was kicked out of the bow hero's party. Itsuki, the bow hero, suspected her of breaking his bracelet, and his party members confirmed it. They said Rishia broke the bracelet, and with no remorse, Itsuki asked her to leave the party. Rishia asked Itsuki to believe her, but he said she's weak and would be a burden, casting her aside. Rishia decides to prove Itsuki wrong and continues her training. Elrasla notices Rishia's distraction and joins her in training. Meanwhile, Naofumi surveys his broken house, wondering how to fix it. Malty mentions they have a lot of expenses, and Philo and Galeon fight over carrying Naofumi. Naofumi intervenes, putting Galeon under house arrest. Windia asks Naofumi not to bully Galeon, and Naofumi explains it's a serious punishment. Philo is happy to hear the curses on her are removed, and Naofumi instructs her to level up. He mentions Philo has to level up with Malty, but Malty says she's busy. Philo insists Malty wanted to level up together, leading to an argument. Naofumi receives a message from the Queen's shadow, gathering everyone. He informs them that Malty is going on a journey with Philo, surprising Malty, who asks Naofumi for clarification. Naofumi asks Eclair to inform the townspeople about Malty's journey. Malty tells Naofumi not to decide things on his own. Naofumi says he got permission from the shadows, mentioning Malty's high magic abilities, but low level for someone meant to rule a country. Malty says she doesn't have to leave right away. Naofumi asks Philo to take Malty, and Philo takes her along with Rat. Sedna realizes Naofumi did this because Malty needed a break. Naofumi pretends otherwise and sends everyone to their tasks. He orders Eclair to handle lordly duties in Malty's absence, saying she's relied on Malty too much. Rin offers to help the Eclair. Sedna senses something but dismisses it when asked. Cyan arrives, hungry, and Naofumi suggests it's time for a meal. After lunch, Naofumi asks Cyan where she's been. Sedna wonders if she was in the underground Colosseum. Cyan confirms and gives Naofumi half of her earnings. Naofumi is happy for the money, while Sedna says that she is impressed by Cyan with the amount of money she made. Cyan mentions that a bowman named Perfect High Justice made more money. Naofumi and Rin find the name Kringy and think it might be Itsuki. Naofumi says that it's worth checking. He'll then tell him that he wants to go to the Colosseum to get stronger. Naofumi considers, and Elrasla asks him to take Rishia to fight different opponents. The scene changes to them being at the Colosseum, and Keel is surprised they're going to fight there. Raftalia wonders why Fall isn't with them, and Naofumi says Fall feels weak, so he's training with Elrasla. Rishia looks around for Itsuki in the Colosseum, and the slave trader approaches Naofumi and the others. He wonders if the kids will participate in the battles today, and the kids feel uneasy seeing the slave trader. Naofumi asks Sedna to handle their matches and tells the kids to be careful while fighting. Sedna leaves, and the slave trader wonders if Naofumi wants to ask him something. Naofumi asks about Perfect High Justice. Meanwhile, Rishia sees Itsuki in the Colosseum and goes after him. Naofumi and the others follow her, noticing Itsuki entering a guarded room. The slave trader asks if Itsuki is the player they're looking for, and Naofumi confirms. He wonders if they can talk to Itsuki before the match starts. The slave trader agrees under his authority and asks the guards to open the way. Rishia tries to talk to Itsuki, but he keeps saying random things to himself. He attempts to go to his match, pushing Rishia aside, but Naofumi stops him. Itsuki says he's heard about Naofumi's actions with Princess Malty, and Rin questions if Itsuki was with her earlier. Itsuki claims it's none of their business, and Rin warns him to stay away from her as everything she says is a convenient lie. Itsuki wonders how Rin knows this, and Rin says he just does. He mentions that Bitch probably told Itsuki he is the righteous one who can save the world, but those are lies. Itsuki doesn't believe Rin, leaves, and says the match is about to start. The slave trader mentions seeing Perfect High Justice around the Colosseum after the Shield Hero's departure. Ren asks Naofumi what he'll do now that they found Itsuki. Naofumi thinks talking may not work, and Atlas suggests settling it with a fight. Raftalia warns against casually suggesting dangerous things, and Naofumi says he'd prefer a peaceful resolution. Ren notes they need to act quickly as Bitch is working behind the scenes. Before his match, Itsuki tries to convince himself that he's not being lied to. He recalls that after the Spirit Turtle defeat, his party insulted and left him. Malty convinced him they were wrong, and they rejoined him. Itsuki believes everyone wants him, so he fights for them. Ren faces his opponent in the Colosseum. Naofumi notices Ren hasn't strengthened his legendary weapon yet, feeling something is off. Rin gets injured while fighting but finally defeats his opponent. Rishia worries about his condition and asks Naofumi to let her fight Itsuki. She wants to talk to him, repay her gratitude for saving her. Rishia explains she couldn't help him in their previous party, always doing chores as she wasn't strong enough. She was just a burden to him, but after spending time with Naofumi and others, she saw how they helped each other. With her current power, she thinks she can help Itsuki. Naofumi understands Rishia's feelings, but he thinks she can't have a serious conversation with Itsuki in his current state. Rishia insists on fighting him, believing she can help him in a one-on-one battle. The slave trader says he has a plan to help with this. The scene shifts to Itsuki giving his earnings to Bitch and his party members. Bitch says it's not enough to save all the slaves. Ren reassures her, saying he can save them all as long as she's with him. Ren informs everyone that Naofumi is here, surprising them. Ren claims Naofumi has slaves like Bitch said, but Naofumi tells him it's a deception. Ren vows to prove Naofumi wrong by making money and freeing the slaves. Later, Bitch talks to someone in an abandoned street. The man says they can't sell Itsuki into slavery now that Naofumi is here. He mentions they've made enough profit from Itsuki's fight money. Bitch says she'll squeeze every penny out of him and teaches him about the world as a grown-up's job. The scene then shifts to Itsuki winning another match in the Colosseum. After the fight, he receives a letter from somebody. Meanwhile, the slave trader reveals he sent a letter to Itsuki through one of his men. Tonight, he plans to lure Itsuki into the underground arena where the ritual magic sanctuary is cast, preventing him from using teleport skills. Naofumi wonders if the slave trader hopes for a reward from the queen by capturing the bow hero, or make profit selling the ticket. The slave trader admits that Naofumi always sees through him, but denies selling tickets to this match. The slave trader then gets the news that the bow hero has arrived, and Naofumi warns Rishia to be careful, considering the possibility that Itsuki might be affected by the curse series. But he assures her they'll support her if things get tough and tells Rishia to give it her all. Rishia and Itsuki enter the arena, and Itsuki is surprised to see Rishia as his opponent. Rishia mentions Itsuki saved her before, and now she wants to save him. The story continues as Itsuki laughs at the idea of Rishia saving him. The demi-human kids ask him not to laugh at their big sister, as she is truly amazing. Itsuki then notices that the shield hero, Naofumi, is also present. Seeing him, Itsuki thinks that this match might have been set up by Naofumi to humiliate him, a typical move according to Itsuki. He points his bow at Naofumi, stating that he will expose Naofumi's evil deeds and show everyone who the righteous one is. Naofumi and Rishia ask Itsuki to stop, but he doesn't listen and fires his bow. Naofumi defends with his shield, and Rishia continues to plead with Itsuki. However, he pushes her aside. Itsuki tells Naofumi that he's heard that Naofumi gathers slave children and exploits them for profit. He accuses Naofumi of using children as shields and mentions a mother's claim that Naofumi couldn't save her son. Naofumi explains that the son was already dead, and despite his powerful shield, he can't bring back the dead. Naofumi believes that Itsuki is just looking for a reason to blame him and wonders how Itsuki will justify the deaths caused by the spirit tortoise. Itsuki, in turn, thinks Naofumi is trying to deflect blame by accusing him. He decides talking to Naofumi is futile, and since Naofumi shows no remorse, he won't show any mercy. Itsuki reveals wings growing out of his bow, calling it the Justice Bow. He claims that he will show Naofumi his evil nature with the power of this bow, and fires it directly above him, causing the arrow to split into several arrows. Naofumi used his shooting star shield to keep everyone safe. Although others avoided the attacks, one arrow hit the announcer. Rishia checked on him, and he became obedient to Itsuki, apologizing for supporting the shield hero. Itsuki told him to think about his actions. Naofumi believed it was the power of the curse series. Itsuki claimed his bow was a powerful weapon from Princess Malty, allowing him to make people understand and guide them. Ren thought Itsuki filled his head with nonsense when he was weak after losing to the spirit turtle. Naofumi asked Saiyan and Sedina to take the kids away. Itsuki invited Naofumi to fight, wanting him to understand justice. Naofumi disagreed, saying the bow only brainwashes people. Itsuki insisted it was justice, and aimed to destroy evil. Rishia denied Itsuki's version of justice, wanting to be an ally of justice in her own way. Itsuki disagreed, wanting to save her again. Rishia used Hen Gain Muso to attack, deflecting Itsuki's arrows with her Hen Muso techniques. Itsuki believed Rishia was now strong enough to be his opponent. He aimed to quickly defeat her, and make her see his version of justice. Itsuki attacked, but Rishia destroyed his arrow and countered. Itsuki used his self-boosting skill to grow wings. Rishia asked him not to be consumed by power, and urged him to let go. Naofumi couldn't believe Itsuki was still pushing forward. Naofumi realized that Itsuki's curse series was pride, and Ren warned against using it further. Itsuki ignored the advice, stopping Rishia by pinning down her shadow with an arrow. He then bound Rishia with another arrow and summoned a bull-like weapon to attack. Rishia managed to cut through it and counter-attacked Itsuki. Itsuki says he won't forgive Rishia for getting in his way. He draws more power from the curse series and attacks her with arrows, breaking her sword. Naofumi offers another sword, but Rishia refuses, saying it's a fight between her and Itsuki, and using his weapon goes against her sense of justice. Itsuki thinks the battle is over as Rishia can't fight with a broken weapon. He attacks her with an arrow, urging her to give up. Rishia refuses to give up, recalling how Itsuki taught her not to give up on justice when he saved her. Itsuki insists she's on the side of evil, but Rishia argues her justice is different. Itsuki claims he's the righteous one who will save the world. This triggers a reaction in Itsuki's bow, granting Rishia a transparent short sword. Naofumi wonders if it's a hidden ability of the legendary bow. Rishia transforms the short sword into a boomerang. Itsuki is confused, and Rishia explains that even his bow doesn't recognize his form of justice. The legendary bow has given her the power to stop him. Itsuki is shocked and can't believe what's happening. He insists that his bow would never betray him and attacks Rishia. However, Rishia easily counters his attack and, in turn, removes the amulet attached to his bow. Upon examining the amulet, Itsuki is flooded with memories of his past. He recalls talking about being an ally of justice back in elementary school, where his friends praised his ability. Even his mother was proud of him. However, when he reached high school, things took a downturn. He was placed in the lowest class after the entrance exam, and his friends deserted him for someone else. His mother was heartbroken to see him in the lowest class, but Itsuki was determined not to accept this fate. He remembered the time when someone told him that she understands him. In the present, Itsuki reflects on the fact that there are still people who believe in him, mentioning that only Princess Malty supports him. He decides to run away to find her, with the others following him. On the way, Itsuki believes that Malty understands he is the righteous one. She assured him that he is different and will save the world, providing him with the amulet to aid in his quest. Itsuki is convinced that his sense of justice is right, and he plans to use it to save those in the wrong. Upon returning to the inn where Malty and the others are staying, Itsuki realizes that no one is there. Naofumi notices that Itsuki has left behind a letter. Ren decides to read the letter out loud. In the letter, Itsuki asks if he had fun pretending to be an ally of justice, mentioning that he seemed confident about saving people. Malty admits they took advantage of him, creating a win-win situation. She suggests he defeat the shield hero if he wants to see her again and leaves a debt in Itsuki's name. Naofumi notices the debt and Itsuki gets angry, throwing his amulet. Overwhelmed, Itsuki faints and dreams about his past, where he saves a cat and is praised by an old lady as an ally of justice. Itsuki wakes up in Lolona village, and Rishia tells him his debt was taken care of by the shield hero. She offers to help him from now on. Itsuki cries, still shaken by the betrayal. Rishia takes him to pick fruits from the gardens. Naofumi notices Itsuki seems listless. He reflects that even the queen doesn't know the weapon Rishia used in the fight, but it's good that the four heroes have gathered as the Phoenix's revival approaches. Now he just needs to protect his territory. Raffia asks Naofumi if Itsuki will be okay, and Naofumi admits he doesn't know. Itsuki used the power of the Curse series, and even his bow rejected him. He believes upholding justice is challenging. We then see in a cave, Naofumi, Raphtalia, Sedina, and Galeon are all having a good time with some drinks. Raphtalia tries to talk to Naofumi but ends up fainting from the strong effects of the alcohol. Galen decides to take a nap, and Sedina thinks the drinks might have been too much for Raphtalia. Naofumi mentions that Sedina should have told him about this place earlier, saying it's a spot where he can learn about the dragon vein without any interruptions. Sedina praises Galen as a great teacher, believing Naofumi will quickly learn from him. Naofumi remembers a time when Galeon taught him about dragon vein hearts, but used magic instead. Sedina advises Naofumi to imagine himself as an empty vessel being filled with power. Naofumi is puzzled, and Sedina shares her surprise about learning that Galeon could talk. She then asks Naofumi about his feelings for Raphtalia. Naofumi questions Sedina's curiosity, and she explains that Raphtalia's parents gave her life meaning. She warns Naofumi to be cautious if he plans to marry her, but Naofumi insists he sees Raphtalia as a daughter. Raphtalia wakes up, and Sedina suggests going back to avoid Raphtalia catching a cold. Galen also wakes up. The scene changes to a blacksmith arriving in Lolona village, praising the kids for fixing a door. Atla trains with Naofumi, who thinks it would be nice to share Galeon's blessing with all villagers. Raphtalia agrees, and the blacksmith arrives with goods requested by the shield hero. Naofumi questions the blacksmith's visit, who explains he brought the scene shifts to Raphtalia training in her new outfit, while the blacksmith helps Tali with his blacksmithing skills. Meanwhile, Naofumi assists Eclair with her paperwork. Naofumi wonders about Motoyasu's whereabouts but notes that Ren and Itsuki are in the village. In 2 months, they need to be ready for the battle with the Phoenix. In the evening, Sedina returns from her fishing trip and is surprised to see Raphtalia in the Mu outfit. She urgently asks her to take it off. Naofumi questions Sadina, and she promises to explain later, insisting that Raphtalia removes the outfit first. Raphtalia changes her dress, and Naofumi asks Sadina what's wrong. Sadina attempts to explain, but suddenly, an explosion occurs in the house where Raphtalia is changing. Sadina rushes to save her, and Naofumi and the others follow. They find Raphtalia unharmed, but one of the kids with her is injured. Noticing demihumans dressed as ninjas around the village, Naofumi and the group are attacked. Naofumi regrets the absence of Alasa and R. One of the attackers targets Raphtalia, but Sadina intervenes. Everyone prepares to fight. The blacksmith, Atla, and others join in after hearing the commotion. An attacker mentions opposing Raphia's declaration and stopping her from taking the throne. Naofumi is puzzled, and Sadina promises to explain later, urging them to defeat the attackers first. The enemies, immune to hero attacks, easily deflect Itsuki and Ren's attempts. Naofumi employs his airstrike shield, but it proves ineffective. Raphtalia's sword skills are also insufficient. Atla, however, manages to land successful attacks. Naofumi realizes the attackers are only immune to hero attacks. He signals Raphtalia, and together they use Dragon Vein magic to confuse the enemies. The enemies, disoriented, start attacking thin air. Naofumi informs Runabout using coral magic to confuse them, noting their immunity to hero attacks. To defeat the enemies, Raphtalia, Ren, and Itsuki use their powerful moves. Sadina notices the enemies have bombs and warns everyone to escape before the bombs detonate. Eclair, about to enter the village, sees the smoke and hurries. Naofumi saves everyone using his shield prison. Naofumi then asks Sadina about the attackers, and Sadina reveals they were from Q10 Low. The scene shifts to Eclair guiding kids to put out fires from the explosion. Sadina discloses that Raphtalia was born into the royal family of Q10 Low, an island far to the east, as a descendant of the Heavenly Emperor. Naofumi wonders about the connection with the Miko outfit. Sadina explains that the outfit, what Naofumi calls the Miko outfit, is reserved for the Heavenly Empress. When Raphtalia, who is royalty, wears it, it's like declaring herself as the Empress, akin to a declaration of war. Sadina warns of more assassins coming. Naofumi recalls being told that Raphtalia's parents died in the first wave and questions why descendants of an emperor are in Lolona village. Sadina explains they wanted to avoid the succession dispute, and Raphtalia's father fled to Melromarc with his wife. Sadina, who served the royal family for generations, decided to protect Raphtalia's family. She reveals that on the day of the first wave, she was attacked while fishing, and by the time she returned, the slavers had taken Raphtalia. Naofumi asks if Raphtalia wants to be empress, but she expresses no interest. Eclair reports that the injured child is not out of danger. Naofumi updates Eclair on the situation, stating that Q10 Low picked a fight for a foolish reason. Eclair mentions differing perspectives on what seems stupid to one country, but is a matter of survival for another. Naofumi recalls Sadina acting like something might be on the outskirts of the village and wonders if she was watching out for them. Sadina confirms and reveals they've been observing Raphtalia since before she was born. Naofumi is incredulous that they were there during the first wave, and when Raphtalia was taken, yet did nothing. Eclair suggests they may have thought it better if Raphtalia had died. Naofumi agrees, considering the possibility that they want to use the Miko outfit as an excuse to eliminate her threat to the current emperor's rule. He is furious about the assassins and the lack of a diplomatic approach. Naofumi believes Q10 Low might think they can avoid international formalities, dealing with a small territory in Melromarc, and he's determined to make them realize their mistake. Naofumi emphasizes that they invaded the territory of the Shield Hero, attempted to kill Raphtalia, and injured one of his citizens. Ren notes it's a declaration of war against the Cardinal Heroes, and Naofumi decides they can't prepare for the Phoenix if they're constantly under threat. He plans to talk to Q10 Low, and, if diplomacy fails, crush them into submission. The scene shifts to Naofumi in the royal palace with Full and Atla. Full and Atla are practicing sparring in the gardens, with Trash watching from a distance. Atla notices Trash observing them. The queen then talks with Naofumi, mentioning that he can leave the preparations for the battle with the Phoenix to her while his party visits Q10 Low. She plans to send knights to Lolona village for protection. Naofumi finds her unusually helpful, and the queen explains it's the least she can do since Naofumi gathered all 4 heroes. Naofumi asks the queen about the fastest route to Q10 Low. She reveals that Q10 Low has isolated itself, and they have no relations with them. However, there is a regular ferry from Siltveld to Q10 Low. She assures Naofumi she'll arrange something. Meanwhile, Trash asks Atla if she's doing well, and Atla assures him she is. Trash questions if the shield demon hurt her, but Atla defends Naofumi, stating he was the one who saved her. Full shares the details of Atla's ordeal with Trash, surprising him. Naofumi arrives, and Trash leaves. The scene transitions to Naofumi leaving for Q10 Low. He plans to go to Siltveld with Windia and Galen, using his portal to summon the rest of the party after arriving. Raphtalia and others ask Naofumi to be careful. Naofumi writes to Galen, acknowledging the less than 2-month deadline for the Phoenix's revival but recognizing the battle as crucial for Raphtalia's fate. In another part of the world, Philo and Malty discuss Philo becoming stronger when she reunites with her master. Naofumi contemplates whether he has the right to interfere in others' fates, but decides to fight for his friends, even against a whole country if necessary. He sees this as the path he, as the shield hero, must follow, and he heads to Siltveld. This brings an end to our season. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.